Welcome to AUA Leadership in Business, an official podcast of the American Urological Association. This episode is brought to you by the AUA Residents and Fellows Committee.
I'm Sravan Panuganti. I'm a private practice urologist in Charlotte. And the reason why, I want to give talks like this is whenever I'm invited to these things and I'm kind of given an open forum on what to do, I feel like this is a topic no one talks about. You guys are going to have your dozen talk about partial nephrectomy versus radical, and you hear that year after year. But this is a topic no one talks about. And I often find trainees message me or contact me and say, I'm graduating in a year or two. I don't even know where to begin. Like, how do I find a job? So I got no disclosures. So you have to think, going through the series of college, medical school, residency, you're always an applicant and you're just hoping and crossing your fingers that someone's going to say yes to you and you're, praying for a residency. But this is the first time you're in the driver's seat. You're no longer a hired hand. You're a revenue generator. If you are not making money, if you're not billing insurance companies, no one's making money. We all need our medical assistants, nurses, and, other ancillary staff, and we can't do our jobs without them, but they're all red lines on the balance sheet. You're not, okay? So you have to determine, keeping that in mind, what's important for you and find a job that accommodates what's important to you or make it accommodate you, okay? So this is in no particular order, but these are all factors to consider, but I do think the most important one is geography. Some of you guys might have families or be planning to have families. Childcare with our jobs is a real issue. Having family nearby or having a support network nearby is really, really important. You also have to think about your partner or spouse employment and interest, cost of living, job satisfaction. Do you want to be in academia, hospital employed, private practice? Those are the big three bubbles, and I'll get into each one specifically as time goes on. What do you like to do for fun? Hobbies, traveling, transportation, a friend network. We've all moved a lot in our lives, and moving somewhere where we're working a lot of hours and don't have a lot of friends can be pretty lonely. For example, my wife and I love to travel, and my wife's British, so we needed somewhere with a direct flight to Heathrow and a nice international airport, and that's how we focused in on Charlotte. And compensation, know your worth and kind of know what kind of revenue streams you're going to have, ancillaries, ASC, radiation, Stone Center, real estate, owning your practice, all important and will supplement your income in the right setting. Benefits, vacation time, all those factors to consider. So what research do you have? So start with the geographic locations that interest you. And this can be as specific as specific cities, coasts, states, whatever. You can just search for hospitals. Most hospitals have a physician finder. Just find the urology department. Find the person's name, Google it. You'll be able to find out if that person's private practice or employed pretty easily. And you'll be able to find out if they're in a group practice or solo practice. And then cold call. I literally called the office patient appointment number to talk to some of these practices. And I was just like, hey, can you put me in talk with your office manager or managing partner? Give me an email address or something. And I left voicemails like, hey, I'm a graduating resident. I'm interested in your practice and your geographic location. Do you have any opportunities, or can you talk to me for a little bit? Ask your local reps. Suppose you're a resident in Dallas and you want to move to Nashville. Ask your UroLift or your Boston Sci rep to put you in contact with a local rep. They'll be able to know which practices are hiring, who has retiring partners, which practices are dumpster fires and to avoid, and which ones are strong. And that is a very easy resource and will put you in contact for your next step in practice already. AUA Job Finder, they have a website where you can search for open opportunities. You just go, and the regional sections have these as well, Mid-Atlantic, Southeast, what have you. LUGPA, this is an organization you may have heard of. It's the Large Urology Group Practice Association. They have a resident summit, fellow summit every March, April, every year. It's all paid for. They'll pay for your flights and hotels. You'll sign up, and they switch locations. It's been in San Diego, New York. It varies year to year. My year was actually virtual. I was a COVID year. And this is how I found my job. Twitter, social media. Also find a lot of jobs will advertise, or a lot of departments will say they're looking for someone. So even if you're not active, make an account, be a lurker, follow. You don't have to post. Networking at conferences like this, or even small conferences like SUFA or SMS, a great way to meet people and collect business cards. your own network of residents and former fellows and attendings, you'll realize this is a really small community and everyone knows everyone. You can be like, oh, I'm thinking about going back to Nebraska, and someone will be like, oh, my old fellow has a practice in Omaha. Let me put you in contact, and they'll let you know if their practice is hiring or who is or what the layout is. Another resource for recruiters, I put asterisks around this because recruiters are fun to use, and there's a difference between in-house and out-of-house recruiters. A lot of large hospital systems will have in-house recruiters, and their job is more so for the logistics and onboarding, that sort of thing. That's fine. But then there's third-party recruiters who will basically shop around your resume for jobs. And don't forget, they need to get paid too, and they're making anywhere from 5 to 10% of your first-year salary. So they're making about $10,000 to $30,000, which is indirectly coming out of your paycheck somehow. So if you found that job on your own without using that recruiter, you potentially will get that money that recruiter is going to make. And protect your CV. Every time you email your recruiter, they're going to ask for your CV. And what they do is they sell off your CV to other recruiting firms. And before you know it, you're inundated with phone calls and emails. And I still am. And I've been in practice for 2 years now. I still get people asking me if I'm looking for a job. I'm like, no. And you also had to keep in count, I've heard stories of a resident will find a job at a hospital system who is contracted with a recruiter, and that resident will find that job on their own independently. However, the recruiter has a copy of the resume, and when they find out that person is hiring, they're like, well, no, I have the resume. This is my recruit. Pay me that $10,000 to $30,000, and you're going to lose that. So let's talk about the pillars of careers. Academic, has its definitely everything has its pros and cons. You can teach residents and fellows. You can employ research interests. You're salaried plus incentives, so you know how much you're going to make every year after year for the most part. You have great benefits. Most academic centers consider you a state employee, so your benefits are pretty good. And, suppose you want to do only penile cancer. You could probably find a job for that where you can really do the only thing you want to do. Your office and staff are managed by the hospital and the employee, hospital manage your office staff and staff employees, everyone. So you don't have to worry about if your MA, calls out sick. You're not looking to hire. Usually there's someone who has a job for that. I mean, downsides, as you know, in residency, you're going to be dumped on by the community, but you could really focus on your subspecialty. Okay? Employed jobs, hospital employed, you're usually guaranteed salary plus incentives, usually RVU based. You have benefits which tend to be pretty good. Your office staff is managed by the hospital, so you don't have to worry about that kind of turnover. You have a built-in referral networks through PCPs, but you may be forced into a generalist position or a hospital need position, which is fine. I did a sexual medicine fellowship, so I do a lot of prosthetics and ED and that sort of thing, but I consider myself more of a general urologist, so I do stones, hydrocele, circs, and I like doing that stuff. I don't mind it. Private practice, your salary is based on your own productivity. Your benefits are typically purchased on your own or through your group, so it's coming out of basically your income somehow or one way or another. You participate in managing your own office space and staff. If my MA calls out, that's on all of us, and we might need to find a replacement, might need to hire. We have an office manager that kind of does the nuts and bolts of that, but that affects us. If a light bulb goes out, one of us is sending our office manager to Home Depot to buy some light bulbs. That's cost is on us. Your attendings in academia, if their light bulbs go out, are not shopping for light bulbs. I guarantee you that. They're making a phone call, if even that, okay? You might have ancillary sources of revenue. So ASCs, stone machine, radiation oncology, owning your real estate can all boost your revenue potential, and you'll get, extra bonuses to your income that way. And you have the ability to be your own boss, which is pretty cool. We are some of the most highly educated people on this planet. There's no reason some bro with an MBA from Clemson should be telling you how to do your job. I apologize if anyone went to Clemson. It's the first college shit. But we can manage our practice. We're smart enough to do that, okay? So interview, number one, don't pay for shit and don't be afraid to ask, okay? That's one thing to, pay for something, get reimbursed, but you guys are trainees. You shouldn't, if a practice is asking you to pay for stuff, stay away, because apparently they need the money. You always need to do a preliminary phone call with a managing partner or chair first. So if you're always talking to suits, that's a bad sign. So, and if someone won't call you back, if that managing doc can't call you back on their way home from work for 10 minutes, that's a red flag, okay? What to ask, your practice model, are you salaried, are you eat what you kill, are you profit sharing, do you get to work with residents or medical students, your call responsibility and burden, how frequent it is, are you getting paid for call, ancillary forms of income like I mentioned before, physician turnover, has anyone not made partner after the predetermined period, and if so, why? How many came and left in the past 5 years? How many years until partnership? All important questions. That's going to affect your salary, okay? Is your skill set needed? If you're an SUO trained fellow and there's already 4 robotic guys there, do you really want to join that practice? Is there someone else already doing what you want to do? Are you going to be the lone man on the island or partners around to help? I went on an interview to join their private practice, and they basically wanted to put me on a satellite hospital 30 minutes away from the main site, where you'd be by yourself. Are there plans for expansion, building more offices? Do you have NPs or PAs to help you in the office or the hospital? Are your revenues up, down, or stable over the past 5 years? How many patients have you seen per day? How are new patients split? Is it evenly, or does the new guy get all the Medicare and Medicaid patients, or, how's that done? Does the group refer to one another or keep their own patients? There's a lot of private practices where there are a bunch of independent urologists that essentially don't talk to one another, whereas my practice has built mini centers of excellence. So I do all the BPH and ED. I have three partners that do the robotics, and it works well. We have 2 guys that kind of do stones, and it works out well. How many days are you in the OR versus the clinic? How much general urology do you want to do, and do you want to? Plans for a private equity buyout, base pay, production bonus, retirement plans, moving bonus, loan reimbursement, tax filing status, benefits, CME, all important questions to ask. And you always have to know that the answer is always no until you ask. Everything is up for negotiation and worth discussing. Contracts are written the way the hospital or the practice wants it. Your first year salary is not your goal, but rather your long-term earning potential and compensation. Print out, read a contract, get your contract lawyer, present them with questions. You are your own best advocate, okay? So what I did when I got my contract, I printed out this 35-page document. I went through it with a highlighter and pen, and then I contacted this contract lawyer. I used this website called resolve.com. I have no financial interest. It was just easy and online. I basically sent him a Word document with all edits in it, and he told me I did his job for him. So study up on the legalese yourself. If you go to the Luck Plus Summit, they're going to provide you a book, or you could buy a cheap 90-page book for like $10 on Amazon. I read one cover to cover, study up on the terms. We're all really good at medicine. We suck at law, okay? Push for what you want, but be reasonable. Okay, first contract jitters. What do you do? How do you go about things? Ask for an employment agreement or term sheet. Ask for this first, don't sign shit. What this is going to be is a 1-page document of what your contract is, or your salary will be, years till partnership, benefits, that sort of thing. Call coverage agreement, production incentive, quality incentive, restricted covenant, and how enforceable is it in your state. Joint ventures with other hospitals or practices, and what is defined as equal opportunity as partner. There's practices that will give you partner, however, it takes years to be vested at 100%. So, 3 years, you have 25%, 4 years, you have 50%, 5 years, 75%, 6 years. So you want to try to avoid that if possible. Unless it's in writing, it didn't happen. It's like when we document charts, right? Unless we write it, it did not happen. Red flags, if you find yourself talking more with administrators than docs, not good. That docs won't call you back. You never show your future practice location when you interview. So I interviewed with this practice. They flew me down to the big city. They paid for my flight, my hotel, my rental car. They took me out to dinner, picked me up in a limo, and I was just, this is absolutely ridiculous. Look, this is a practice expense. This is coming off your balance sheet. Your partners are paying for this indirectly. That's a huge waste of money. And then they never showed me the actual location they wanted to put me in. They showed me their nice new office building in downtown. Poor dinner attendance, also a red flag. They took me to that dinner. They never actually introduced me to my partners that were in that satellite office. So another red flag. If your interview day is unorganized, not a good sign. And if there's any vagueness on expectations, private equity buy, compensation, partnership, advancement, steer away. Set goals. What do you want to do at 5, 10, 15 years? What do you want to bring out of your practice? Do you want to be recognized? I see Dr. Ramasamy here. Do you want to be a nationally recognized name, or to be a guy that no one knows like me? Your work-life balance. What complexity cases do you want to take on? You want to do your bread and butter stuff? That's fine. If you want to be a local referral center, do that too. But set goals for yourself and what you want to do, and make yourself attain those goals. Tips, keep your CV constantly up to date with either on a Google Doc or on your computer. Add any new publication, certification, the license when you get it, and when it happens. If you wait, you'll forget about things, and it's useful to have readily available to send out. So if you network with someone at this conference today, you could just shoot them a quick email, not a recruiter, but a doc. Scan everything before you frame it, diplomas, transcripts, medical licenses. You'll need copies to email out for credentialing. It's really hard to scan something when it's framed on a diploma 6 feet off your floor. Apply for your state's medical license as soon as possible. This can take 6 to 8 months in some states like California and New York. You'll also need a DEA and state CDS license if you need it, if that applies. But the end thing is make yourself indispensable and not a pain in the ass. So, I had my contact information on here, but Google me, you'll find me. Any questions? Happy to answer any.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, make AUA Leadership in Business your go-to podcast. Subscribe today by searching AUA Leadership in Business on your favorite podcast app and enhance your leadership and business education needs.